Have you ever been frustrated about brewing coffee at home? You feel like there's a million things you need to know and you just don't know where to start? Well, today I'm going to answer your questions for brewing coffee at home. Yo, it's freezing out here. Yeah, no, we're not doing this. We're going back inside. Hi, I don't know about you, but I love Christmas time. Christmas time is the best, but I hate the cold. So let's stay inside, let's have a little chat, me and you, and let's catch up. What's going on? My name is Rowsell, and I want to help you brew better coffee at home. So before we start any further, it would really mean a lot if you smash that subscribe button and even hit me a thumbs up. I'm trying to get to 1,000 subscribers before the end of 2020, and every single subscribe really does help. And so I put out a question on Instagram for an Ask Me Anything. And I got hundreds of responses from you over the past few hours. Thank you, thank you. This is awesome. So hopefully I can help you out right now and just answer some of the questions that you have with brewing coffee at home. Now I just brewed myself an incredible Kenyan espresso roasted by my friends in Vancouver at 49th Parallel. So why don't you make yourself a coffee and we'll go over some of these questions together. Question number one is from Wyatt_Wanders_, and is how did you get started in the coffee game? For me, I've always been a fan of coffee, and I live in Canada. I live in Ottawa, Canada, and being a Canadian boy, you gotta drink Tim Hortons. Everything about Tim Hortons is just Canadian. They sell hockey cards. It's so Canadian, it's ridiculous. And so I started growing up drinking Tim Hortons coffee. When we moved to Ottawa for work, one of my coworkers said, Kyle, I want to take you out to a specialty coffee cafe. He took me to the specialty coffee cafe and we sat down and the barista hand poured a Chemex for us and pulled some espresso shots. And this was the first time I've even seen a Chemex. To be quite honest, when I saw it, I thought it was something to be used for drugs. But the Chemex really intrigued me, the fact that the guy was able to hand pour coffee. I've never seen something like that before. So that experience was really great, but also the coffee that was served to me was a natural processed Ethiopian coffee. And it tasted like blueberries. And this is a common theme with so many people that are into coffee. There was a coffee that maybe a natural processed coffee or a coffee that was incredibly fruity or just something that's completely different than the norm, and it completely changed the perception they had for the beverage of coffee. Long story short, I started diving into things. In my personality, I'm all in. When I'm in something, I'm all in. I'm a little obsessive over things. And so for me, I started getting into specialty. And then when COVID-19 hit, I started a blog, Brew at Home, and it was incredibly well received. Fast forward 8 months later, here we are, and just being able to help people brew coffee at home was my goal, and it continually is my goal for people who are just getting into coffee or even continue to help people that are deep into the passion of coffee. So that's how I got into the coffee game in a short version. Riddleless asks, best coffee grinder for espresso under $150. Is this even possible? Hand grinder, crying emoji, crying emoji. Riddleless, this is a great question and thank you for asking it. The best coffee grinder under $150 for espresso probably doesn't exist. I'll be quite honest with you, you will get what you pay for with a coffee grinder. With filter, this is definitely a possibility. I think the Baratza Encore is an incredible grinder for filter. But for espresso, you need something that can have micro adjustments, that can grind very fine and can grind consistently. And it's very hard to be able to do that with a low budget, I'm being honest with you. I think the grinder that comes closest to this is something from Breville, and it's called the Smart Grinder Pro. I believe it's about $200, so you're still a little bit over that $150 mark. Is it the best grinder since sliced bread? No, but it will be able to make espresso for you. Around that, there's really not a ton. The Comandante is a hand grinder that can do espresso. Highly recommend that. There are a couple other options, but I would just stay away from espresso if you don't want to spend a lot of money personally. That might be heartbreaking, but the reality is espresso is an expensive hobby. There are cheap options for manual brewers, but when it comes to grinders, that is the most important part of your tech. So, you're watching this right now, regardless of if you're into espresso or into filter, do not cheap out on your grinder. That is the most important part of your coffee gear. Get an expensive grinder before you do a brewer. I promise you, it will change your coffee and it will taste so much better. Just a tip that I have for you, regardless of where you're brewing and how you're brewing, the coffee grinder is king on your coffee bar. I think your best bet for espresso in a cheap coffee grinder, Rowsell Sette 270. That's a great espresso grinder for the money. It can do very, very good espresso. So I'm just editing this video now, and as I'm editing this, a ton more comments and questions have come in. So I think we're gonna have to do a part 2. So if you want a part 2, let me know by hitting that like button down below and subscribe so you don't miss it, and comment down below what you want me answered for next time. But back to this video. Can2_LOL says, any recommendations for entry-level espresso machine and grinder? Real quick, kind of just following off on the last question. The reason why I want to answer this is because an entry-level espresso machine is a question that I get all the time. The machine that I started off with was the Brew Barista Express. It's one of the most popular machines out there, hands down. A lot of people have this. My parents have this machine. My aunts and uncles have this machine. It's a hot Christmas gift to give. I get it. I had it too. That machine is great because it does come with an espresso grinder and an espresso machine built into one compact machine. Is it the best machine since sliced bread? No. Will it pull good espresso? Pretty good espresso. And I think if you were to down the road upgrade to a better grinder, then you can do that and it will only benefit your espresso in the long run. Other than that, if you want to go to like a manual espresso brewer, like the Flair espresso machine, I just reviewed that. I'll link that up above for you. Then you can definitely save some money there. But keep in mind, a manual espresso machine will not be able to steam milk. So if you're looking at making lattes and cappuccinos and flat whites and all of those amazing drinks, you won't be able to do that in a manual espresso machine unless you get a separate unit, a separate device to actually steam your milk. Just something to think about, but if you're just wanting black espresso, there are cheap options out there that you can really save on. And again, if you want to get a espresso grinder, but you don't want to break the bank, I would highly recommend the Sette 270. My personal favorite espresso grinder is the Niche Zero. UK Espresso says, who is your favorite influencer slash YouTuber slash big coffee person and why? My favorite influencer and YouTuber is Peter McKinnon. I just love that guy's energy. I can relate to that. I love the hype. I love just how he is just so passionate about what he does and he's all in. But favorite coffee person would have to be James Hoffmann. I'm inspired by his videos. I watch his videos. I love James Hoffmann and I think he's really helping this industry and he's educating and helping us move the ball down the field. So huge shout outs to my boy, James Hoffmann. Incredible, incredible human being. Mark at the shop table asks, how do we make specialty coffee more approachable? That is a question that I am passionate about. There are a few things that I think the industry needs to improve on, but the first thing, I'm a big believer that it starts with you and I. If you resonate with that question and you want to help your friends and your family get into specialty coffee, but they're intimidated by the idea of it in the industry, then we've got a problem and we need to be better. Not everybody will get into specialty and we have to recognize that. Not everybody in the world sees the value in coffee that I do. But I think as an industry, we can do better in making it more approachable. And I think we're continually doing that. I'm very proud of this industry. I think over the past year, we've taken leaps and bounds to just address the language that we use, even address the pretentious culture that we've actually created over the years. I'm proud of us for that. But here's a couple things that I think we need to do. I believe that you and I actually need to teach people. And that's why I started all of this. You see, we can't say we need to change as an industry, but put it on other people. You can't put that on the barista that works at the local cafe. You can't put that even on the cafe owner. They can do their part, but you need to do yours. And so as you're talking to friends and family about specialty coffee, keep in mind they're not where you're at. And so talk to them in a language that isn't pretentious. Talk to them in a language that is gentle and kind. I think that goes with anything in life, but if you talk to people on the same level with kindness and respect, they will listen to what you're saying. Talking about how this industry cares about the farmer, the producer, and the industry as a whole. And I think that's very, very important. When we can talk about the farmer and the producer and say, we have taken care of them, we haven't left them for dead, we haven't put them in a spot where they're actually barely able to provide for their family, but we're actually paying them what they deserve, that looks good on this industry. But people resonate with that. And so when you're talking about specialty coffee, go beyond just the flavors, because people might enjoy the coffee that they're drinking now. But what kept me at specialty wasn't the flavor, it was actually the stories and the depth of this industry. And so when you're talking to people about specialty coffee, don't just stop at the flavor, but talk about what this industry believes in. Talk about the values that it holds. People resonate with stories. One thing that I'm a big believer, if you've been around my Instagram account, I've been talking about how coffee is more than caffeine. It's just a saying that I've created to get this point across, that coffee needs to be more than a substance that we drink every morning to get up and go. Am I saying that caffeine is bad? Absolutely not. I need caffeine. I'd be miserable. I wouldn't be doing this video without caffeine. That's just a reality. But what I am advocating for is this industry needs to be more than just a substance and a drug. This industry has people who have dedicated their lives to it, from farmers across the world to producers, to importers, cafe owners, and roasters. And we need to continue to do the best job that we can to educate people on the importance of this amazing industry and why it matters. And for you and I, we might understand that, but we need to continue to remind people and educate them, because we can't assume people will understand that and get frustrated with them if we haven't taken the time to educate them. I also think language is important, and the way that we talk about coffee is important. I'm actually working on a coffee now for no other reason than just to continue to push this industry down the field. A coffee that doesn't have any tasting notes. Not that tasting notes are bad in and of themselves, but I think what can happen is people can get confused by tasting notes. People can look at tasting notes as prescriptions to what a coffee has to taste like. I think tasting notes are very subjective, and because I taste something doesn't mean that you will. And so language is important, and how we talk about coffee is important. I'm a big believer in that. And so even as I'm crafting this coffee and working with some roasters here in Canada, just even designing the labels is all intentional. We're gonna be using colors with no tasting notes and just illustrations that talk about what this coffee reminds me of, and hopefully that resonates with a lot of people who aren't fully into specialty or just getting into this industry. There are a lot of things that I want to talk about on this. It's a topic that I'm incredibly passionate about, and if you want to know any more about any of that, hit up my DMs on Instagram and I will be happy to answer. Or write in the comments below anything that maybe I missed, and we can have a conversation down there. I will respond to every single comment. Mike My Z Music asks, what is your favorite pour-over dripper and why? For a long time, my favorite pour-over brewer has been the V60. I find the V60 allows the nuances and delicate flavors in coffee to really shine through. It brings a very bright and clear cup of coffee. I love that. Always will love the V60, one of the best brewers, and it's fairly affordable. But lately I've been really enjoying the Fellow Stag X. It's a flat bottom brewer from the fine folks at Fellow Products, and they have designed a flat bottom brewer that has more flow than something like the Kalita 185 or 155. And what I've found is that it's incredibly great at bringing the acidity levels down in coffee, but also just allowing the nuances in the cup to actually shine still. So it's kind of a balance between a Kalita and a V60. I like it, it's also very easy to use. My wife can pick it up, and because it's a flat bottom brewer, you don't have to be as precise in the pouring. And you can do nice small cups of coffee on the Stag X. I can do cups of 12.5 grams of coffee and just have a little 200-gram cup of coffee. So just a nice little brewer that I like, maybe you will too. And we'll finish with this one. It's Sunny Drinks Coffee, says, have you ever considered home roasting? To be honest, I've gone back and forth on this idea. I've really wanted to get into home roasting for a while. I have a big space in my basement that could fit a roaster, a home roaster, and I could really do a lot of fun things down there. But for now, I want to stay away from that. I think that there are people doing an incredible job in roasting right now, and I don't want to get my feet into an area that I really don't know that much about. And so until I'm ready to dive all in, being that that's the person that I am, I'm going to stay away from home roasting for now. Maybe it's something that I can dive into in the future. Not sure about that, no commitments on that, but I think it's cool for the people who are doing it. Right on, that's awesome. People have sent me some home roasted coffee over the past few months, and I've really enjoyed just trying that and comparing it to some other roasters in this local area. Anyways, I hope that answers all of your questions. If it didn't, let me know in the comments below anything that I didn't answer that you want to know about. And if it did, if you enjoyed this video, smash that like button. It would really help me out. And then also, I would really appreciate if you subscribe. Again, I'm trying to get to that 1,000 subscribers by the end of 2020. And so I could really use your help in doing that. Smash that button down below. In the meantime, continue to brew great coffee and continue to brew at home. We'll see you next time. Peace.